Okay, so now you've all received feedback in a Canvas comment on your proposal. Basically, all of you have ideas that are doable. Some will take more tweaking than others. Where you want to focus on going from here is turning your idea into a set of materials that outlines everything that's going to be in your survey. So if my recommendation was to like more specifically pin down your variable, I would say you need to think about what the variable is that you're interested in and start thinking about self-report scales that will help you assess it. So that was the main largest sort of macro feedback I gave to people. But to try and guide you in terms of like, well, what would it mean to kind of get more specific? I created a survey materials template, and basically you are going to want to move your proposal in the direction of looking more like a set of survey materials. So this is what you're going to hopefully start working on. Finding sources. Where is it? All right, you should be seeing my instructions for survey materials template. So essentially, this is a set of instructions, but also an example for you to follow in terms of where your proposal should be going from here. You'll get one more opportunity to resubmit an updated proposal before you need to have something that looks exactly like this. But the closer you get to this, the easier time you'll have in revision. So the intent of having your study materials all together in one document is to give you something to work off of when you ultimately program your survey in Qualtrics. And I need to see all of your materials because I basically need to approve them. Any editing that we need to do, any questions we need to delete, any response formats we need to fix. So what you're going to want is something that basically outlines every single thing your participants will expect to see in your survey. So the basic structure of your survey, there's going to be some things that everyone has, and there's going to be some things specific to your survey. So everyone's going to need a consent form. I have a template on Qualtrics that I will share with you, and you will just be able to copy it, and you will need to include that as the first thing in your survey. Then you should have sections devoted to your variables of interest. So if your first variable is self-esteem, put together in this document a list of all your self-esteem questions. If you're just using a pre-published scale like the Rosenberg, you just have to copy and paste the items from the Rosenberg into this document so that we have it all in one place so that I can approve it, and then ultimately it will be much easier for you to program it. So you'll need a section for each one of your scales. You'll need a section for your demographic questions, which will come towards the end of the survey. So you'll need some basic things like age, gender, and likely ethnicity. If you're interested in like class year, a question asking what school year people are in, you can include that. Socioeconomic status, you can include that. You're just going to want to have a list of the demographic questions you want to include. And then the debriefing form, which again, you need to have at the very end of your survey, and there is a template that you can work off of. So this is what these sections should look like. Like I said, I have a template for the consent form. You will have to edit it just a little bit. You're going to have to put your names in here, and you're going to need to put in a very short sentence-long description of your survey. So if your survey is interested in attitudes towards social media and self-esteem, right? You keep it short, you keep it vague enough that participants don't know exactly what the survey is going to be about, but gives them enough information to be able to consent. After that, this is all stock language. You don't need to change anything. Then you're going to need to have a question where people indicate that they are at least 18 years old and consent to be in their survey. You can only have people who are over 18 in your survey. So no children. If people select I do not consent, we're going to build some logic into your survey whereby people who select this get kicked right to the last page of the survey where it says thank you for your participation. They don't see any of the survey. If they say I consent, it takes them to the survey itself. So then what you're going to want is, again, a map of everything participants are going to see. So instructions. Any good survey needs to have carefully worded instructions letting the participants know what they're going to be doing. So this can be pretty simple, and you can use the same language that I have here. So on the following pages, you'll answer a number of questions. Please read all the questions carefully before answering. Please be as honest and accurate as you can. I would recommend having a little stock paragraph like that in the very beginning. Then you get into your scales themselves, which again, you're just going to want to put together the entirety of the scale you're going to be using, which if you're going pre-published, this is going to be a breeze. You're just going to copy and paste the instructions for the questionnaire, the question items, and indicate what the response format's going to be. Those are the 3 key things to make sure you have in this survey materials document for your scales. You need instructions, because if you just get started with these questions without telling participants what they're doing, they'll likely figure it out, but it'll be confusing and a bit jarring. So we need to know the instructions. So on the following questions, please indicate the answer that is most true about yourself. There are no right or wrong answers. Please answer using the scale provided. One thing to make sure of is that your instructions match the response format, which matches the item language. Basically what this means is people are indicating the extent to which a series of statements are true about themselves. So that's reflected in the instructions. Then they read the items and they say, I think that having clear rules and order at work is essential for success. 1 does not describe me at all. 7 completely describes me. So this is really what you want to go for. You need the language of the instructions to match the language of the questions or items themselves, which needs to match the language of the response. This is one of those things that is a lot easier if you're going pre-published. If you write your own questions, this is all of the survey writing bullshit that you need to make sure you're thinking about. If you go pre-published, likely they're going to have some language to include in the instructions and the response format as well as the questions. So that's part of why I highly recommend pre-published, because there's more that goes into survey writing than you might expect. Okay, so that's my first scale. Then my second scale, which has different instructions, different items, different response format. I need to have all that information because that will be necessary when I actually program this in Qualtrics. Demographics. Again, whatever demographics you need, I'm going to say probably at least all of these are mandatory. Those are really important ones. But others that you think of, just basic information about people that you think might impact your variables, you're going to want that. Debriefing is, again, somewhat stock language. You just need to put in a slightly more fleshed out explanation of your study as well as your prediction. And then after that, you're basically just going to copy this stock language that I have available for you. Okay, so again, some of you are still at a stage where you need to tweak your research idea, and that's okay. Some of you are at a stage where you can basically put this together for your next submission, and that's okay too. Just read the comments that I left you on Canvas, update your proposal to get as close to this template as you can. If you have any questions, let me know. It would be a great opportunity for a check-in this week if you have any questions about my feedback, to meet with me individually or as a group to make sure that you know what I'm asking from you in the feedback that I gave you. By next week, we're going to want all your projects to look like this, because that's what we're going to program off of. Okay, so that's basically my rundown of what you need to do next for your proposal updates. Again, I'm guessing that everyone wants to just log off. But if anyone does want to stick around in this Zoom and get put into a breakout room to chat with any of your group mates, obviously you can. But I'm going to say that that's all that I have to go through today.